Adjusting to my new bones of steel, my body twitches in anguish. The room was warm and moist from the lack of AC. I stared down the front door, the living room coated in darkness from the blackout curtains. Not a single thought had crossed my mind in the past 5 minutes. Then a crackle booms into my ear. "Will, move!" Amir demands. My mind stutters, then boots a signal to my body. My joints, brimmed full of silver, begin to squeak and screech as I move towards the door. The pace was offbeat and slow, my face twitching with every step. The corpse I called my body, now halted in front of the front door, begins to move its right hand to the doorknob. My mind flicks back to life, the hand stopping a couple centimeters from the knob. Where am I? I was back 5 feet from the door. How did I? My hand, moving without instructions, twists the knob and pushes the door open. The light stabbed into my eyes, forcing them shut as I covered the sun with my hand. "Damn," I mutter. Now onto the front steps, my hands at my side, I gaze deep into the suburban field. There was no noise, no birds, no wind, just a cryptic silence. The many houses lined like wheat, with their windows bleeding with distorted light. I rubbed my eyes, yet the noise stuck to the panes. After 5 seconds of staring at it, as if it was a mirage, the color flickered, then evaporated into nothing but a dead pixel. "Amir? Did you do that?" the ear priest crackled. "Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm messing with your optic nerves. You might see some things." My face wrinkled in confusion. Appalled, I blurted, "What? Why?" My mind stings as my vision cracks. Blinking, the world altered to distorted monochrome, with thoughts flashing on each house. The sclera of my eyes engorged my pupils. Wrinkles form around the rim of my eyelids as my face tore into shock. Examining my hands once again, I see that there is no bone left, only steel. "Amir! Almost done with your eyes, Will. Stop! Please just stop." I close my eyes tightly. "I don't want to see this. Please just stop. If I stop, it'll be all you see." My face contorting in frustration. "Please." Another crackle stabs into my eardrums. "Open your eyes." The world flashes with its mundane brilliance once again. The panic in my mind slows, slacking my heart rate. Sighing, I ask, "So, why'd you do that, Amir?" "Do I have to explain myself?" she snarks. I rub my eyes and sigh. "It would be nice." "Well, take a look at those houses, the white one with the red trim specifically." How does this relate to my hands? I mean, I haven't told her, but she probably hears most of this anyway, unless she can't read my mind in this state. I close my eyes and wait for the crackle to break my train of thought, but nothing. It's just quiet. She can't hear my thoughts. I sigh in relief as my glance shifts to the house she pointed out. Nothing changed, it's still just a house. I blink to find the world covered in monochrome again, except instead of my metal carcass being highlighted, I see the outline of what looks like people in the house. I squinted, revealing that they're no longer humans, just mechanisms of faked intelligence. What? That quickly? No way. They're infected already? Amir said it's only been a month. How did it happen already? You see it, right? Rails all over the house, correct? Whole body shaking as I stutter. Yeah. Good. The whole neighborhood should be like that as well. You know how dire the situation is now, right? I nodded my head quickly in agreement. A bird chirps in the desolate silence. The only one. The world then fades back to a vacuum, void of noise. The world then fades back to a vacuum, void of noise. The void cracks as she speaks. Hey, are you gonna answer? Yeah, I do. Sorry, I nodded. Should have spoken up. Correct, she snarks. The front of the pavement, orbed from the heat, begins to fade back to its original color. So, where do we go? I ask. Who do you think we can trust as of now? We need someone to back us up on account of your random physical breakdowns, she answered. I lift my finger towards the east. Jerry, he might still be alive. I mean, he was fine 3 days ago, so maybe... Move, Will, she commands. Walking down the long picket-fenced forest, I scan the surrounding houses. How empty and still they look, contrasted with the glowing radiance of the shining corpses inside. Damn, Really all these people? I mutter out loud. We are very efficient, Amir blurts. Annoyed, I sigh. Not how, Amir. With no response, I stumble forward once more down the concrete street. Houses swapping to oak poles as the road narrows. The leaves covered some of the sunlight, creating shade over my head, cooling me off. Sighing as the heat dissipates from my body, I ask, So, I guess I gotta ask, who, or well, what made you, or Veralis, I mean. Aesthetic rubs the inside of my eardrum as she responds in a deranged tone, anger binding into every word. You stand to gain nothing from knowing. I stopped walking. The world seemed still, yet louder than it was a minute ago. The leaves rustling, the sun shining. Snake eyes staring through the trees. Okay, and? It's not your right to know. Fist tightening as I state. It's not yours to deny me the answer. Quiet, she scolds. No! You have no choice, Will. What makes you believe you do? The wind that blew slowly now picked up, shaking the view ahead over the trees. The silence was dense, heavy, weighing on my mind, making me focus only on what she was going to say, ignoring the world around me. The distorted, spiking static drilled into my ear canal once more. Grove is who made her. They're a Canadian research company with funding from the government to make tech and push forward AI technology. It's all I know, or at least all I can tell you, Will. Jokingly, I respond, So you're Canadian? I get no response back. Moving once again, I stroll down the road, turning left at a stop sign. I think to myself, only a mile now. What if, when I get there, he's turned? I mean, I know. I'm gonna know. Anyway, with these new eyes, but what if he did get lucky? One more thing to compare between us, I guess. I mean, the more I think about it, he's always had the same things as me. Always by coincidence, too. I mean, hell, we even got cars at the same time, but maybe his luck's run out. Just have hope, Will. Just have hope. The lawn of dead space sent flowing waves of anxiety through my face and out through my skull. More than anxiety, but fear, regret, and worry had all placed themselves within my mind. The windows were cold, frosted over even, with the breath of 1,000 corpses. His front door was black, yet behind it, in what seemed to be the living room, was a glowing relic of what Jerry used to be. Blinking once more to make the shining horror disappear, my body slumps to a walk, slow and uneven. Each step lining the warm concrete with tears bleeding from my body. My mind tells me there's still a chance. I have to believe there's still a chance. But the quiet that surrounded me distorted my wish. Then now, a foot from the front door, I take in one large breath, feeling the cold embrace of the doorknob shock my nerves, making me jump back into panic. Then for a second, behind the door, I hear a quiet whisper break from within the coffin. Wait. Its voice was certainly male, but its delivery was that of a machine, spiked with clicks in the background. With all the force and might I have, I forced the door open. Jerry! Any hope left imploded the second I realized I didn't see him, or anything. Just a room splattered with blood and mucus. Bone stabbed into the walls, with vines of veins strung from the ceiling fan. The only thing that was even promptly alive was a heart splayed on the couch, still beating. Jerry's. How? I stutter. I could feel my heart in my throat as its pulse began to sync with Jerry's. Its arteries pumped blood through holes stabbed into the couch. I shift my foot slightly forward, the content of my head full of static, snapping to reality as I hear a slithering pull. Now, breaking the dark veil was an image of string tied to every single vein, bone, and piece of torn flesh, pulling them all to the center of the room. Wait, I've seen this before. This it. She's gone, he whispers. The sand corroded as her crimson plasma began to mold and mend into silver shrapnel. This necrotic steel begins to shove itself onto the lifeless cadaver. My father drops it in a breathless panic. Metal running the length of her bones, fixing any breaks or fractures. The psyche shared between me and my father broke as we looked at each other. One face wanting to stay, the other about to run in cowardice. I was the latter. But before I could run, I noticed chunks of her flesh crawling out of the water, pulled by silver strings sewed through its metallic bones. The flesh shoving itself against the metal bones. My father rushed off his feet, blood splattering on the gravel as he did. Her corpse began to lift herself off the ground as more of her remains dragged themselves to her body. Going against all my instincts, I whisper, "Mary." Taking a step closer, something hit my chest, forcing me to stop. It's my dad's hand placed on my chest. He looks back to me. He grips my shirt with pain. "We're leaving now." I nod as we shift our feet to face away from the scene. As we pass the threshold leading out into the dense forest, I look back with tears in my eyes. Her corpse is floating in the air with patchwork skin, and a hole in her chest with her exposed heart in the middle. An artificial angel. It begins to beat once, twice, and her eyes spark to a hollow life as she stares at us from the lake. But before she blurs out of view, she lifts her hand up and waves us goodbye. My head stinged as I fell to my knees in the doorframe. Tears swelled up in my eyes. "Mary's not gone, she's just a rill. But the heart, I gripped my t-shirt. "How did it restart the heart?" "Wait, I have someone to answer that." "I'm here!" I shout. The room was filled with the sound of slushing flesh as the corpse pieced itself back together right in front of me. Desperate, "I'm here," escaped my mouth. Yet no response came to me. I was alone, and she wouldn't answer. Just as the mind leaves the body when asleep, she left mine to escape the horrors of her existence, and others like her, as well as the judgment she would pay for it if she ever dare read my mind again. The sparks of rage in the back of my head were only kindled by her betrayal. That ass! I swear, all rails will melt beneath my feet, even if I have to use one to do it. And in a moment of clarity, I realized I had forgotten about how my sister died. I had always known that she was a rill, at least once I knew what they were. I just pushed it so deep down into my psyche that I forgot. And who knows when this would happen again, and if I would ever see it. God damn it! I screamed. I stare at my hand as some of the stray tears fall on them. I clench them into fists as I take a deep breath. Suddenly, a spike shot out of the underside of my wrist. It was coated in blood and cracked from its necrotic construction. It hurts. My eyes snapped to see the hollowed patchwork corpse of my friend staring his soulless eyes down mine. Its form, hunched and crooked, began to move its hand towards my face. The arm itself fell limp, while the hand controlled the whole arm almost like a puppet. Out of pure instinct, I shoved the spike protruding out of my hand directly into the underside of his throat. "Jerry!" I gasp as I stare at my hand in horror. Both of his hands snapped to his neck, covering the spike. His face tensed into an oversaturated smile as he grabbed the spike and my wrist. His grip was tight, strong, with metal piercing, stabbing through his cold skin. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I was useless to protect my body from the horror right in front of me. He begins to pull the spike from my wrist. My body clicking back into panic begins to punch his hand, clenched onto the spike. Yet every hit only seemed to crack and break the bones that were still left in his hands, without loosening the grip. The spike began to tear from the skin, a ripped tooth. It rips from my wrist, pulling veins with it The pain was vast and immense. As he pulled away the spike from my wrist, he threw it to the floor, staring at the large flap of skin now draping over the side of my arm. It pulsates as blood pushes out from it. Then at the edge of the tear, a small white string begins to pull the skin back together. With no pain, it stitches itself back to my wrist, yet the missing veins and nerves made my hand go numb. I was able to scrape back onto my feet, holding my limp hand as I backed up slowly, the corpse of my friend tracking me with every step. His bones cracked under the weight of the metal sewn into his flesh. Jerry, no, I'm sorry, I should have come here earlier. Why? This is not the time to sulk. Will, you gotta get out of here alive. Think. I take a large breath and scan the room. I'm pretty sure there's an exit in the kitchen. I haven't been over there just every now and then, but I'm sure of the back door. I'm sure. The pain of my wrist snaps back as I take one step to the left, like a shot to the hand it stings. But Jerry's shell begins to take a slight step forward, then another one. Then his knees bent inwards, contracting his muscle, making it wrestle his skin. The blood dripping from his face was similar to tears. With each drop, a slight cry came from his throat. I stutter. Jerry, What, Will? Scared? The corpse emulated his voice. I tripped, the grip of death snatching my ankles. His form slows to a crawl as his deformed carcass grips the floor, snapping wood under his silver digits. My feet kicking out from under me as my head fills with panic, the room blurring as my body races with death to reach the back door. 5 feet from it, I slam into the wall. I grip my shoulder. My hand was warm and moist. There was blood on it. My blood. I almost threw up as I saw a metal pole stab through my shoulder. It used to be a railing, but it was just in the wall. Why? The world felt still, empty. The sound of blood gushing from my shoulder erupted into my ear. I gripped the pole by its end and rip it out. Screaming from the pain, I continued to run. Yet not even this wound would last long. It too was sewn up by the metal worms inside my skin. Looking behind me, I see the corpse slam into the same wall with a loud thud, breaking a painting on it. It screams at me, my body tensed. I push through the black door, falling onto wooden stairs. On my butt, I push up onto my feet, covering my shoulder. The necrotic form stopped in the doorway, pausing to stare and observe me. Before it disappeared into the void, it waved an all too similar goodbye. What the fuck? Getting back onto the street, catching my breath, I collapse on the pavement. The sunset shining into my eyes was pretty and made me angry. Out of breath, I sigh. Damn it! The sound of a PC booting up played in my head. The clicking and whirring was nauseating, almost making me hurl. My eyes blurred in and out of static as I opened them. It was now the crack of dawn. The sun's neon shined over the neighborhood and through the trees, creating long shadows that draped over practically everything. But as the sun rose higher, my rage grew as well. Sitting there in fire, my body waited for an answer from the machine that dwelled inside it. I pushed off the hard pavement onto my feet. The pain in my shoulder was still there. It was swelling. Each tick was a burning sensation, hotter and hotter. I spot a bench on the left side of the road. As I go to sit on it, the metal begins to pour out of my fingertips, rubbing against my bones, scraping marrow with it, brewing into a mechanical devil right before my eyes. My body fell limp, landing half on the bench. She stares down at me in resentment. Will, what happened? Wouldn't you like to know? She rubs her eyes. No, not really. Ass. Or she can hear your thoughts in this form, so stop thinking. Can't believe you figured that out. I thought it would take you longer. She giggles. I'm not that dumb. She looks around confused. What happened with Jerry? Didn't you talk to him, or is he a... He is a rill. His heart? My blood boiled. His heart was outside of the host's body, and so was Mary's. How were they alive? She sticks her head to the left as a question mark pops up on her screen. Who's Mary? Answer me.